Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a very serious show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as you guys know, this current NBA, there's some things that people like about it, but there are definitely some things that fans don't like, especially fans from the previous generation. And one of those things is just the lack of overall competitiveness and lack of resistance within the game. Today, it's as soft as it's ever been, the softest ever, easily. You just heard that with some of the stories surrounding Joel Embiid. Of course, you have the Kawhi Leonard situation, although he's actually injured, but he's also a notable candidate for load management and all of that. People have complained about the style of play that is basically just a three-point shooting contest and layups. So that's why it always astounded me when people said, oh my God, this is the most spectacular version of basketball we've ever seen. I'm like, it's just basically threes and twos and layups. Now, I want to give you guys a stat here that takes a look at the amount of three-point attempts from the NBA through the decades. And this is from StatMuse, by the way. In the 80s, teams were attempting, in terms of three-point attempts, 3.5. In the 90s, teams were attempting 11.4. In the 2000s, teams were attempting 15.7 threes a game. In the 2010s, teams were attempting 23 threes a game. And today, in the 2020s, teams are attempting 34.7 threes a game. 34.7 threes a game. That is actually crazy. It means that teams are shooting between 8 to 9 three-pointers per quarter. And to me, it's one of the reasons why the game isn't interesting anymore. I don't know. Some of us like defense, right? Some of us like defense, but some people feel like, oh my God, it's just amazing to watch teams just score 160,000 points a night. That's entertaining. But what happened? Yesterday, I was combing through the internet and I came across an interview from Fox Sports Radio, and it was featuring Charles Barkley on the Dan Patrick Show. And Charles Barkley tuned in to talk about a bunch of different things like Skip Bayless and other things. But at one particular point, he was discussing the state of affairs in the NBA. And Charles Barkley put out a very, very dark prediction that I think the NBA needs to pay very close attention to moving forward. Because if it doesn't, it could literally risk losing its fan base. But before we even get into what Charles had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks makes it easy to get real money action on sports and players you love. Pick more or less on 2 or more players in any sport to win up to 100 times your entry fee. For example, here's a possible winning player projection lineup. Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards and Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CB Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. And if you're like me and you want to play safe, you will love the new features PrizePicks invented. Flex plays. Flex pays are the safest way to play PrizePicks. You can still make a profit or win some money back even if a couple of your picks don't hit. On top of this, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. What we want to do now is want to play exactly what Charles Barkley had to say. I want you guys to listen to it carefully, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Charles had to say here.
Okay. I'm going to start with a serious topic here. What is worse for the NBA, a bigger problem, load management or too many three-pointers?
Dan, that's a great question because I think they're both problems. It's just now it's a three-point shooting contest. But what's going to be the biggest problem going forward when we have guys making 80, 90, $100 million not playing back-to-back games. That's, to me, I mean, listen, the three-point thing bothers me because, of course, if they're going in, you're going to win, but you got to have a plan B. But when that new TV deal kicks in next year and you got a guy making $85 million and he says, hey, you know what? I'm not going to play back-to-back games. It's ridiculous to think fans are going to pay as much as it costs to go to games now. And now you're going to have to go out and start doing streaming going forward. We can't have a guy making $95 million saying, I can't play basketball 4 days a week. And actually, in fairness, most teams play 3 games a week, but let's say hypothetically you play 4 games. You can't ask fans to pay that money for a guy making $95 million won't play back-to-back games. I mean, if anybody think that's a good idea, they're crazy.
Okay, but how do you fix load management?
You play basketball, man. We're the luckiest dudes in the world. See, this is the thing that bothers me about the entire 76er thing. Like, number one, you don't tell people you're not going to play back-to-back games. That's just where the stupidity started. But also, Dan, if you're tired or a little sore, which every basketball player is during the season, hey, you know what, coach? I'm going to play 25 minutes tonight. I'm not going to play 42. That, to me, is my biggest problem with load management. Just play 25 to 27 minutes. Like, when you're a star, you're going to play basically between 35 and 45 minutes most nights. But if you're going to play back-to-back or you want to load management, just tell the coach, hey, coach, I'm going to give you 25 tonight. Maybe we could push it 27, 30. But because, Adam Silver, who's amazing, he killed most of the back-to-backs anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I think the load management, you can't ask people out here who go out here and get their hard-earned money on, like, real jobs. They say, I'm coming to see this great player play. And he, like I said, he's making $80, $100 to $100 million. Well, he sit it out because he was tired. That's not sustainable.
What if you just got paid for the number of games you played?
Dude, them dudes will be playing 85 games, not 82. Dude, Dan, we don't have like a real job. We're playing basketball.
But do I have to incentivize these guys making this much money that if you play this many games, you get, like, there's a bonus? And you have to do something here. I mean, I think we got a real problem with too many threes. The game is not great. And I just think, when you got guys who they think nothing of sitting down, of sitting out.
Dan, when you say that or I say that, they go, we're the old get off my lawn guys. And I don't care if they say that because, man, we're playing basketball. We're not a nurse. I'm pretty sure nurses don't want to go in sometime. Guys who work in the steel mills, who work in construction, I'm pretty sure they don't want to go in. But man, I've always told people the most important thing should be the game. And it's really getting to the point where it's embarrassing that we actually ever having this conversation. Because if you go back and look at basketball, the greatest players ever, number one, they had to go to college for 3 and 4 years. But they played the whole games. They played in crappy shoes. They flew commercial. Injuries now that you're back in 6 months or a year into your career, we got the best medical stuff. We got guys sleeping in hyperbaric chambers. We got guys doing cold water plunges. This is, from a physical standpoint, this is probably the greatest time to play sports. Can you imagine?
So you heard what Charles Barkley had to say. I want to read the title of that particular video. It says, Charles Barkley says fans will eventually turn their backs on the NBA if load management continues. Load management will lead to the demise, or to the NBA's demise. That's what Charles Barkley had to say. Folks, this is a serious problem. We just recently produced a show about a week or two ago of President Obama talking to Tyrese Halliburton on the Young Man and the Three, the podcast that used to be JJ Redick's podcast. And he was essentially expressing his grievances about the NBA All-Star Game. He told Tyrese Halliburton to his face that your product is unwatchable. He said, if you guys don't take the game seriously, you won't get fans to take the game seriously. He said, I'm not going to watch that junk anymore. What President Obama, former President Obama, was doing was he was sending a message to Adam Silver. And what I like about what he said is he had the clout to do so, because this is a former president saying that. So he had nothing to be afraid of. For whatever reason, Adam Silver has seen to it that the NBA take absolute advantage of its customers. It is unbelievable in terms of messaging and the message that the NBA sends to its customers. It's unreal. And then you have certain players within the NBA echoing the messaging that the NBA wants. I remember the All-Star game, was it 2 years ago? And everyone was reacting to it of how terrible it was. And SGA said after the game, in terms of why players weren't being competitive in a game, do you know what he said? He said, maybe you need to incentivize us a little bit more. And then he said, money talks. This is coming from a player that plays in the NBA where now players are making more money than they've ever made in the past. Ever. We've done shows where people like Rob Parker and others have been going off on the NBA for teams sitting down their key marquee players on the road. Not at home games where fans get to see them 41 times in a season. You would have star players sitting out key pivotal games on the road, knowing damn well that fan base would only have one opportunity to see them per year. And then they'll sit them out. Some of the reasons they'll sit them out is due to load management. Some of the reasons they'll sit them out is for reasons we don't even know. But for whatever reason, the NBA thought it was okay to do so. Just yesterday, I almost came close to posting a poll on the channel where I was going to say, do you think Adam Silver is contributing to the erosion of the NBA? I almost did that, but I decided to back off. We also produced another show about a week or so ago talking about the decline in viewership over the years, year to year. How last year's ratings were up higher than this year's ratings. So we can see the decline, but no one is saying anything. And Charles Barkley is 100% correct that if the NBA continues in this particular fashion that they're going in, they will lose fans. They will lose fans eventually, because after a while, customers are going to get tired of being taken advantage of. You heard Dan Patrick bring up the proposition. Well, what if players only get paid per game for games that they play? He said they will play 85. We all know this. We all know this. We've even seen conversations that have taken place on television where they were like, what could be a particular solution? Well, because players were complaining about the load on their bodies. Oh, the load was too much. And they were like, well, let's reduce the games. And then all the NBA players went silent. Do you know why? Because if you reduce the games, you reduce the revenue. If you reduce the games, you reduce the revenue. So they're complaining about the games being too much, but nevertheless, they want to get paid like they played 82 games, but then not play 82 games. And then you have some bozos in the corner that are supporting it. Man, it's a tough load on the play. So play less games. We all know what they're doing. Charles Barkley said it a few years ago on the All the Smoke podcast. He said, what players have figured out is, if I play less games, I get to preserve my body over the years. Therefore, I get to play longer. Therefore, I get to make more money. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. How long can I extend my career so that I can make the most amount of money over the lifetime of career? Now, from the standpoint of an NBA player, that makes sense. You're maximizing your earning potential. But you're doing it at the expense of the paying customers. And no league says to its customers more than any other league that we don't care about you than the NBA. It's not even close. It's not even close. And now they want to launch some investigation into Joel Embiid. Well, he shouldn't be saying that. They don't like the messaging. Yeah, all right. With all the other stuff that they've been pulling off, man, please. But to have one of the Pantheon greats, one of the top 75 players to ever play the sport say this on a major sports platform like Fox Sports Radio, that says a lot. So the question is, do you think the NBA will do anything about this? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.